Eli sat on the edge of the old wooden dock, watching the sun sink below the distant hills. The water reflected pink and gold, but his heart felt gray. He missed Arya more than he could say. She had moved across the galaxy 6 months ago to a distant settlement where the air was thin and the nights were long. Every morning, he woke up hoping she would be there, in the kitchen with her bright laugh, or waiting at the bus stop with her sketchbook. But she was gone, and the silence weighed heavy on him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small hollow projector they had built together when she was still here. It was simple, a metal cube no bigger than his fist, with a single button. Once, they spent an afternoon perfecting the beam's strength so it could travel through space. They dreamed of sending messages to each other when she moved away. Now, the projector sat cold in his hand, as silent and empty as his heart felt. "Come on, little friend," he whispered. "Work for me." He pressed the button, and a pale blue light hummed to life. For a moment, he imagined Arya's voice, singing softly as she painted her memories into new worlds. But the light faded, and nothing appeared on the screen. The projector had lost power somewhere between here and the far-off colony. He sighed and lay back on the dock, staring at the first stars of the evening. Eli loved the stars. Since he was a child, he thought of them as old friends, silent witnesses to every laugh, every tear, every moment of courage. He closed his eyes and let the soft breeze brush his face. He remembered Arya's hope when they first built the projector. She said that, no matter how far apart people might be, humanity's spirit could bridge any distance. That was the heart of HFY, the pride in human creativity and kindness. The belief that even in empty space, we could reach out and hold a friend's hand. Sadness filled him, but hope flickered too. He sat up and stared at the dark water. He would not give up. Arya mattered too much. He thought of her bright eyes, full of ideas about world-building and art. He thought of the afternoon they spent in the workshop, tinkering with wires and circuit boards, laughing when sparks flew. They had believed they could connect any 2 points in the galaxy. That belief lived inside him now. He jumped off the dock and sprinted back to his workshop. Inside, it was a jumble of tools, spare parts, and half-finished projects. He cleared a table and set the hollow projector in the center. Then he pulled open a drawer and took out a small coil of superconductive wire, a handful of microcapacitors, and a fresh power cell. His fingers shook with excitement. "I'm going to fix you," he said. "And then I'm going to send her a message she can't ignore." He worked late into the night, soldering and testing, adjusting the lens, reprogramming the signal protocols. Each click and whir reminded him of their shared dream. It felt like a conversation with Arya herself, guiding his hands. Finally, as the first light of dawn touched the sky, the holoprojector glowed bright and steady. Eli slumped back in his chair, exhausted but proud. He typed a short message. "Arya, I miss you. Remember our promise? Meet me on the old dock." Tonight, he pressed send. The device hummed, then blinked. Green signal launched. He watched the beam arc upward, disappearing into the morning sky. The rest of the day passed slowly. Eli felt as if he were waiting for a single drop of rain in a desert. He tried to work on other projects, but every circuit board reminded him of Arya. He ate cold noodles for lunch and skipped dinner. At last, dusk returned, and he raced to the dock once more. Clutching the repaired projector, he sat and waited, scanning the sky. The stars shone cold and distant, but his heart felt warm with hope. After a long minute, the projector's light flickered. A pale shape grew in the air before him, Arya's face framed by her fiery red hair. Her eyes were wide with surprise, and tears shimmered on her cheeks. "I got your message," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I never gave up looking for you." She paused. "I'm coming home." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Arya reached out and touched the edge of the holoprojected image, as if she could step through and be with him again. Eli felt a rush of joy so strong he laughed until tears came. He waved and spoke into the tiny microphone. "Be waiting." The image shimmered and faded, but the heat of her promise stayed with him. He stood under the stars, shoulders straight and heart light. Humanity had built city ships that could cross the galaxy, but it was hope and determination that truly connected people. Eli knew that no matter how far apart they might travel, humans would always find each other again. And in that thought, he found peace and strength to keep dreaming. Eli woke before dawn, his heart heavy with both hope and worry. Last night's Hala message from Arya still glimmered in his mind, but it had faded too quickly. He had only seen her face for a few seconds, and now he wondered if it had been real or a trick of his own wishes. The repaired holoprojector sat on the dock beside him, silent in the dim light. He leaned against the wooden railing and watched the sky's first light turn the stars pale. Arya's promise to come home felt fragile, like a soap bubble, drifting on a breeze. 6 months had passed since she left for the high-altitude colony on Lumen Prime. In that time, every sunrise felt empty without her laughter. Now, even with her message, the distance felt greater than ever. Eli closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He thought of humanity's greatest achievements: city ships spanning light years, underground farms growing food in barren worlds, art that spoke to every soul across cultures. That was HFY, the strength and kindness of humans shining through the void. He owed it to Arya's faith in him to call on that spirit. He walked back to his workshop and switched on the overhead lamp. The room glowed around him, filled with scattered tools and half-built gadgets. He retrieved a fresh power cell and placed it beside the projector. Then he opened a scrap of paper where he had scribbled ideas for a new, longer message. He had tried sending voice-only transmissions, star song recordings, and even a musical code based on their favorite tune. None had drawn a reply. Eli touched the paper's corner, smoothing it with a fingertip. He realized he had been trying to solve a problem as if it were a broken machine. But Arya was not a device. She was a friend who had chosen a new life under strange skies. Maybe he needed something more than technology. Maybe he needed to share his own heart. He tore the paper into pieces and tossed them into a bin. Then he found a fresh sheet and began to write a letter by hand. His handwriting was messy, but every word came straight from him. He wrote about the nights he lay under the stars and thought of her, about the old dock they had built together, and about how he missed her kindness and her courage. He told her about small, everyday moments, the way morning light danced on the tool bench, how the neighbor's cat now slept in the workshop, and how the breeze always carried her favorite scent of jasmine from her garden. When the letter was finished, Eli folded it carefully and placed it inside a clear data capsule. He programmed the projector to launch both the capsule and a brief holoclip of him reading the letter aloud. His voice trembled as he pressed send. The projector hummed, and a bright beam shot toward space, carrying his words into the silent dark. He stood in the workshop doorway and watched the beam fade. Then he turned off the light and carried the projector back to the dock. All day he tried to work, but everything reminded him of Arya. He tightened screws too hard, forgot to oil moving parts, and miscalculated measurements. At one point, he caught himself talking to the half-finished device as if it could answer. He laughed at his own foolishness and shook his head. Even so, he refused to let discouragement win. As afternoon edged toward evening, he decided to invite others to help. He posted a notice in the community hall. Star Message Night. Share your hope for friends far away. By dusk, curious neighbors had gathered on the dock with homemade devices, tubes that whistled, small mirrors that glittered, even a simple flare gun loaded with colored powder. They formed a circle under the purple skies. Each person held a token, a photograph, a piece of poetry, a small gift. When Eli stepped forward, he held the hollow projector and the sealed capsule. He told them, "We are far from each other and from those we love, but we are human, creative, caring, and brave. Tonight, we send our hopes together." One by one, neighbors activated their devices. A mirror flashed sunlight skyward. A flare burst overhead in bright green. Small drones spun upward, scattering colored powder like cosmic dust. Finally, Eli pressed the projector's button. The beam arced above them, carrying his letter and voice across the stars. They watched in silence until each light faded. Then someone began to clap softly at first. Soon, every hand joined, echoing like distant thunder. Eli felt a warmth blossom in his chest. He realized that he was not alone in his longing. All around him were people who understood distance and hope. Under the rising stars, he closed his eyes and sent one more thought into the night. Arya, we are here. We wait for you. The breeze carried his words across the water and into the vast sky. As he opened his eyes, the first star of evening glowed. Eli took a steady breath. He did not know when or how Arya would return, but he knew he would not give up. Humanity's spirit had built bridges through space. Tonight, with a community of hopeful hearts, he had built another bridge, one of light and love, that might carry him home. Eli woke with the dawn light warming his face. He sat up and stared out the window at the still waters. Last night's signal gathering had filled him with new energy, but the ache of distance remained. Arya's reply had not come yet, he wondered. If his letter and the shared lights had reached her, or if they drifted forever in the void, he rose and dressed quickly. Today he planned to improve the holoprojector's range. He believed human creativity could bridge even the greatest gaps. That belief was at the heart of HFY. Humans never give up, and humans always find a way. Eli packed his tools and headed to the workshop. The workshop smelled of solder and oil. On the workbench lay the projector and the data capsule. Eli studied the projector's antenna array. It had worked well within local space, but he wanted more power now. He sketched a simple booster design using extra coils scavenged from old machines. He chose parts from shelves with careful hands, treating each component as if it held a promise. As he soldered the new coils, he hummed the tune. He and Arya had composed together a melody of hope that rose and fell like ocean waves. Each note reminded him of her bright laugh and patient guidance when things broke. He tightened screws and tested currents. Sparks flew once, and he smiled. That spark meant progress. By midday, the booster was in place. Eli connected the power cell and held his breath. He pressed the button. The projector hummed. Then bright light shot upward. The beam pulsed 3 times, then faded. The device's indicator glowed steady green. It worked. Eli felt a thrill. He recorded a simple message. Arya, I fixed the booster. Our signal can reach further now. I still believe you will answer. Placed the message in a new capsule and loaded it into the projector. He set it to launch at nightfall. He cleaned up the workshop and packed parts for a backup device. Then he stepped outside and walked down to the community hall. The hall's open doors invited neighbors in. He waved and called, "Hello, come see the new projector booster." A few curious people joined him. They admired the extra coils and asked questions. Eli explained how the design worked, using simple words. One neighbor, Jian, a retired engineer, nodded with approval. "Your idea is solid, Eli," he said, "but you might need a better power source to keep the beam strong." Jian offered a compact fusion cell from his own supplies. Eli felt gratitude glow in his chest. Human kindness was as vital as technology. He accepted the cell and promised to return it once the test was done. That evening, a small group gathered on the dock again. Jian handed over the fusion cell, and Eli fitted it into the projector. He stood before the crowd and spoke in a clear voice. "Tonight we send our hope across more light years than before. We send it on human wings." He pressed the button. The projector glowed brighter than ever. The beams soared into the dark sky, pulsing in steady rhythm. The neighbors watched in awe. Some held homemade lanterns. Others simply stood in silence. When the light faded, someone cheered. Others clapped softly. Eli felt tears on his cheeks. The community's belief emboldened him. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "Arya, please see this." Days passed. He checked the projector each morning. Sometimes he feared that no answer would come. But every sunrise he felt hope. Renewed by human resolve, he spent his afternoons refining the booster design, making it lighter and more robust. He traded ideas with Jian and shared progress with other makers. Each collaboration reminded him that humans built great things when they worked together. On the 4th night after the booster launch, Eli stood on the dock once more. The projector was ready. He loaded an updated message. "Arya, I miss you. We are here, and we wait with hope." He pressed send. The beam arced up, clear and bright. When the light faded, nothing else happened. Eli stood still, breathing the cool night air. Then, behind him, a soft beep came from the data receiver he had built months ago. The small console lit up with a gentle green glow. Eli knelt beside it and saw a new capsule slide out. His heart pounded. He opened the capsule and held the holo projector in his hand. Pressed the button. A pale blue image shimmered into view. It was Arya, standing under a pale dome of light. Her hair caught the glow, and her eyes were bright. She smiled, and he felt his chest tighten with joy. "Eli," she said. Her voice was steady but soft. "I saw your signal. I have been working on my end, too. I learned your new design from the community's shared plans. I wanted to surprise you." She paused, and her eyes glistened with emotion. "I pulled some strings here, and I'm on my way home." Eli laughed and cried at once. He waved and spoke into the tiny microphone. "I can't wait to see you." The image shimmered and then froze, reminding him of how far they still were. But this time the distance felt smaller. Human curiosity. Kindness and teamwork had made the impossible possible. Under the silent stars, Eli packed away the projector and the capsule. He felt lighter than he had in months. In his heart, he carried not just technology, but the unbreakable faith that humans could span any gap. He walked toward home, each step echoing with purpose. He knew that tomorrow, Arya would be closer. And that was enough to carry him through. The night Eli woke before sunrise, with a hollow feeling in his chest. The sky was still dark, and the dock lay silent, except for the soft lap of water against the pilings. He thought of Arya, her bright laugh, her gentle advice, the way she saw beauty in every small thing. She had promised to come home, but weeks had passed since her message. His repaired projector and booster lay in the workshop, quiet now. Felt distant from her again, even though she was closer than before. The ache in his heart whispered that simple signals and words might not be enough. He dressed quickly and wandered to the community hall, where neighbors often gathered for music night or project showcases. Today, he had a new idea, a digital mural that every friend of Arya's could add to from anywhere. He believed human spirit could fill the void more than any machine could. He hoped that weaving their memories and dreams into one picture would reach her heart across the stars. Inside the hall, he arranged tables with holopads and drawing styluses. He set up a simple program. Anyone could paint a memory of Arya her smile, her sketches, the workshops where they built things together. As morning light filtered through the windows, neighbors began to arrive. First came Gian, the retired engineer, holding a holopad loaded with one of Arya's landscape sketches. Then came Lena, who sang lullabies near the docks and carried a melody in her mind. She hummed a tune and added notes along the bottom of the mural. People trickled in, children, artists, even travelers passing through. Each sat before a holopad and painted. Some drew the old dock where Arya had made wind chimes. Others wrote short messages of hope. "We miss you. You are loved. Come home soon." Eli moved among them, offering extra styluses or helping adjust brightness. He felt a warmth grow inside him as he saw their care. Each stroke of color was a shared heartbeat, a human connection reaching out. By midday, the mural shimmered with life. Vivid flowers curved around handwritten notes. Tiny stars spanned the edges, linking memories from different hands. In the center, someone had painted two figures, one standing on the dock, the other under a distant dome of light reaching toward each other. Eli tapped his finger on the Halley display, making the figures glow softly. He felt tears of joy. Humanity's creativity and kindness had crafted something beautiful and strong. Gathered the final data packet and returned to his workshop. There, he connected the holoprojector with the booster and fresh power source. He loaded the mural file as an image sequence set to unfold slowly above the dock at night. He typed a short message into the capsule. "Arya, this is our gift. For you, We hope it brings you near." He pressed the launch command, and the projector hummed as it stored the data for transmission. As evening fell, neighbors returned to the dock. The sky was clear, and the first stars twinkled like distant candles. Eli stood before the group and spoke softly. "Tonight, we send more than words. Send our hearts in color and light." With a gentle click, he activated the projector. A beam of soft blue light arced up, then split into thousands of threads of color. Each thread painted the mural across the night sky, shimmering like a living tapestry. The crowd watched in silence. The mural unfolded slowly. Flowers bloomed, stars pulsed, messages shone in gentle script. In that moment, every person in the circle felt connected, not just to Arya, but to each other. Lee's chest swelled with hope. He realized that distance could not dim the warmth of shared memories and human kindness. When the final image faded, someone whispered, "It is beautiful." A few people began to clap, softly at first, then in a gentle rhythm that matched their heartbeats. Eli smiled through misty eyes. He looked up at the stars and whispered his own message into the night. "Arya, see this gift and know that we wait for you with open arms." He stayed on the dock long after everyone else had gone home. The mural's glow had vanished, but the hope it carried remained in his heart. He felt less alone now, believed that human creativity, kindness, and unity could span any gulf of space. And in that belief, he found the strength to keep waiting in, the faith that one day soon, Arya would see their gift, understand their love, and come home at last. Eli woke to a gentle rain tapping on his workshop roof, smiled at the sound. Rain meant life, renewal, and hope. He thought of Arya and wondered if she could hear the same rain on her world. He felt a warm pulse of human connection, even across the stars. He set his coffee mug on the workbench and ran a hand through his hair. Yesterday's mural broadcast had filled his heart, but he still felt the ache of distance. He missed Arya's steady friendship and her fearless dreams. He knew she was out there, living her new life, but he longed to share each moment with her. Eli paced the workshop floor, stared at the hollow projector and booster array. They had carried words, songs, and pictures into space. Now he wondered if there was a way to bring something more tangible, something that Arya could touch. He believed human ingenuity could build any bridge, no matter how vast the gulf. He opened a drawer and pulled out a small metal sphere. It was a seed capsule, designed to sprout plants even in harsh soil. He and Arya had planned to send one to each other, planting life across distances. She had suggested the idea months ago, before she left. He smiled at the memory of her excited voice. Eli packed the seed capsule into a clear data cylinder. He wrote a short message on a thin parchment. "Plant this where you live and think of me as it grows." Sealed the capsule and placed it beside the projector. He felt a glow of pride. This gift carried life itself, a reminder that humans could make desserts bloom. All day he worked on the projector's delivery system, added a slow-release thruster and heat shield so the capsule could reach Arya's planet safely. He calibrated the timing controls, making sure the device would enter orbit above her settlement at dawn. He imagined her stepping outside to catch the capsule as it floated down. Neighbors knew of his plan. Jian stopped by with an extra power cell. Lena brought fine soil samples from her garden. A student named Kyo offered a cotton filter to protect the seed. Everyone pitched in, sharing what they had. Eli felt his heart swell with gratitude. Human kindness was the strongest fuel of all. That evening, the neighborhood gathered on the dock once more. Rain had stopped, leaving puddles that reflected the rising stars. Eli stood before the group, holding the capsule. "Tonight," he said, "we send a living promise to Arya. We send hope in green form. Let it remind her of home." A hush settled over the crowd. He activated the projector. The device glowed softly and lifted into the air. It shot upward, carrying the seed capsule in its cradle. The beam of light guided it beyond the atmosphere. Everyone watched as the capsule vanished into the night. Some whispered prayers, others held their hands over their hearts. Back in his workshop, Eli set a simple receiver to listen for Arya's reply. He programmed it to pick up signals on a range of frequencies. He filled a cup with hot tea and wrapped his hands around it. The warmth seeped into his fingers. He waited, hopeful but calm. Human patience was a quiet power. Hours passed. Eli checked the receiver every half hour. He refilled his tea and watched the rain-slick streets outside. At midnight, a soft beep startled him. He rushed to the console and saw a brief transmission. It was a short burst of data in Arya's handwriting format. His heart pounded. He loaded the data into the holoprojector. A pale image shimmered into view. Arya standing beneath a dome of glass, her red hair damp from rain. She held the seed capsule in one hand and a small pot in the other. A young tree sprouted green leaves beside her. Her eyes shone with tears of joy. "Eli," she said, voice steady and warm, "I got your gift today at dawn. The tree is growing already. I planted it under my window where it catches the sun." She paused, and the hollow flickered with her smile. "Thank you for reminding me of home. I carry you in every leaf." Lee felt his chest tighten. He laughed and cried at once. He replied with a simple message, "I will care for our seed here too. Soon we will celebrate 2 trees growing under different skies." He sent the reply and watched Arya's image fade, but the warmth remained. He stepped outside into the quiet night. The rain-washed air smelled of earth and promise. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "We are closer now." He felt the pulse of humanity's heart, resilient, creative, and kind. No distance could break the bond that hope. An effort had formed. Under the vast sky, Eli walked home with a lighter step. He imagined the 2 trees, one on his dock and one on her balcony, reaching toward the same sun. He knew that human spirit could make any distance disappear. In that thought, he found peace and strength to keep believing. He morning sun peeked through the clouds, painting Eli's room in soft gold. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, feeling the quiet hum of the house around him. Outside his window, the small tree he planted was growing strong. Its green leaves danced in the wind. Tree made him smile every day. It reminded him of Arya, but today, something felt different. The tree had grown taller, yet Eli still felt far from her. They had exchanged messages, songs, pictures, and even living gifts, but nothing could replace standing side by side, laughing over small things, fixing broken machines, or sharing stories late into the night. Even though she had promised to return one day, the waiting felt heavier now. Eli walked slowly to the dock with a cup of tea in hand. The sky was clear, and the stars still shimmered faintly above. He sat on the edge and let his feet dangle. Above the calm water, he missed her more than ever, not because she was far away, but because he remembered how close they used to be. He thought about what more he could do. What hadn't he tried? He had sent signals, letters, gifts. Then he had a new idea, not about sending things, but building something permanent, something Arya could come back to, a place that felt like home, not just for her, but for anyone feeling lost or far away. The idea struck his heart like a lightning spark. What if he built a space of connection, a place where people from every colony could gather, share their stories, and celebrate what made them human? Could name it after Hertha Arya Pavilion, place filled with hope and voices from all corners of the galaxy. Eli raced to his workshop. He cleared his desk and began to sketch. The building would be open on all sides, with a roof shaped like a rising star. Inside, there would be music walls where people could upload songs, story pods for reading and listening, and a central flame that burned gently as a symbol of human unity. Around it would grow trees planted from shared seeds like the one Arya had received. He worked for hours without stopping. Word spread quickly through the town. P visited his workshop and asked how they could help. Lena brought wood from the forest grove. Gian arrived with solar panels. Children gathered stones to line the garden path. It wasn't just Eli's dream anymore. It belonged to everyone. They began building at the edge of the dock, where the water met the hill. Each piece of wood was placed with care. Every stone carried someone's story. People painted poems on the pillars and carved stars into the benches. As they worked, laughter filled the air. The community had turned one person's longing into a shared promise. Eli felt hope bloom in his heart. It reminded him why humanity had reached the stars in the first place, not just for survival, but for connection. Even across light years, people never stopped trying to understand one another. That was HFY. Not weapons or machines, but hearts, full of light. Days turned into weeks, and finally the pavilion was ready. It glowed with warmth and life. On the opening night, lanterns floated into the sky, each carrying a message. Eli lit the center flame and looked up at the stars. Then, just as the last lantern disappeared into the dark, his receiver beeped. Eli ran to the workshop. A new message capsule had arrived. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a short note from Arya and a tiny silver ring made from the branch of her tree. The message played in her soft voice. Eli, I've seen the photos of the pavilion. It's beautiful. Showed it to everyone here. They cried. Some have never been home, but now they say they feel like they've found one. I'm coming soon this time for real. I can't wait to sit with you under that roof. Tears filled Eli's eyes. He looked out the window at the Arya pavilion, glowing like a star in the night. People were still singing, planting flowers and telling stories. He held the silver ring close and whispered, We did it, Arya. You helped me feel close to you again. And now we've brought others closer. 2. He slipped the ring onto a chain around his neck and stepped outside. The stars above no longer felt cold. They felt like windows filled with watching eyes, listening hearts, and open arms. The world had grown smaller through human love and effort, and in that small, bright world, Eli found comfort. Arya was coming home, and the home they had built together would welcome her with every beam of starlight and every voice of hope. The sun rose gently over the lake, painting the water in soft orange and gold. Eli stood at the edge of the Arya pavilion, holding a cup of warm tea. The gentle wind brushed past his face, carrying the scent of jasmine from the nearby trees, the same kind Arya loved. It had been weeks since her last message. She had said she was coming home soon, but still, no ship had landed. No familiar voice had echoed across the dock. He missed her, more than ever. Eli walked slowly to the tree he had planted months ago. It had grown tall and strong, its green leaves reaching toward the sky. He touched its trunk gently. She'll see you soon, he whispered. But doubt crept into his heart. What if she changed her mind? What if life on her new world pulled her further away? He sat beneath the tree and looked up at the stars, still faintly glowing in the sky. They were beautiful, but distant just like Arya. A small ache grew in his chest. He didn't know what else to do. He had tried everything. Messages, gifts, signals, even a whole pavilion full of hope. Still no Arya. But Eli didn't let sadness stop him. He stood up, dusted off his hands, and walked to the center of the pavilion. There a small flame still burned, fueled by solar energy and surrounded by messages from people across the colonies. It was a place of voices and memories, a symbol of human hope. Eli sat by the flame and listened to a recording sent in just yesterday. A child's voice spoke. To my brother on Mars, I miss your jokes. I hope we laugh again soon. Another voice followed, a woman saying, To my mother on the lunar station, your stories still guide me. Each message reminded him that he wasn't alone. Everyone felt distant from someone they loved. That was the truth of space. And yet people didn't give up. They kept reaching out again and again. That was HFI. That was humanity's gift. Connection, through effort, through creativity, through love. As the flame danced gently in the breeze, Eli had an idea. A new one. He stood quickly and went back to his workshop. There, he pulled out his old hollow recording tools. Instead of another message to Arya, he would record a broadcast not just for her, but for anyone who felt far away from someone they loved. He would tell their story from the very beginning. Maybe it would reach her. Maybe it would help others too. He set the camera. He looked into the lens and began. My name is Eli. This is the story of waiting, of friendship, of never giving up. A long time ago, someone I love moved away. She was brave, left to help build a new world. stayed behind and tried to stay strong. He spoke of the lonely nights, the quiet dock, and the small seed he sent across the stars. The mural, the messages, the pavilion they built together in spirit. His voice trembled at times, but he kept going. He ended with this: humanity is made of more than machines and science. We are made of heart, of stubborn hope. We don't let go of the ones we love, no matter how far they go, no matter how far you are. You're still connected. He uploaded the recording and sent it across the network. He marked it as a story for anyone missing someone. Then he returned to the pavilion and sat beneath the tree again. He didn't expect what happened next. That night, as stars brightened above the hills, a small ship appeared in the sky. It glided gently over the lake and landed near the dock. Lights blinked, a door opened, and there she was. Arya stepped out slowly, her eyes wide and full of tears. She held a small seedling in one hand and the silver ring Eli had sent her in the other. Eli ran to her. Neither said a word at first. They just hugged tightly, arms around each other, the months of silence melting into warmth. "I saw your broadcast," she whispered. "I saw everything." "Missed you," Eli said softly. "I missed you too," she replied. They stood on the dock as the stars watched above. The pavilion glowed in the distance, filled with messages and dreams. The wind carried soft music from someone's nearby recording, and the flame burned brighter than ever. The next morning, Arya planted the seedling beside Eli's tree. They watered it together. 2 trees now stood tall, side by side, just like them. And as the sun rose again, Eli knew this. The stars could never keep people apart forever, not when humans had hope, not when they refused to stop trying. That was what made them strong. That was what brought her home.